fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Arf, hounds of heaven. Jesus loves you and is there for you. Welcome in to David L. Gray's show, Off Code and Unscripted. Got one thing for you today. The largest gathering of Catholic Freemasons is about to take place in Chicago, Illinois in July. Yes, you heard me correctly. No, I didn't mix up my words. I didn't make up new words. Now, it's you don't have to rewind it. Yes. The largest gathering of Catholics who are Freemasons, perhaps around 1,000 of them, maybe more. It happens every year, every time the Knights of Peter Claver gather together. Coming up, I'll tell you about who the Knights of Peter Claver are, who some of their offers are, who are Freemasons, why the predominantly black Catholic churches are infested with Freemasons and women who belong to the appendant Masonic bodies such as the Eastern Stars, and why the Knights of Peter Claver turned my offer down. I offered them. I said, hey, I'll come up and I'll do a workshop at your national convention about this issue. They ghosted me. I'll tell you why. But first, let me thank my sponsors, all you who like, share, and subscribe and pray for me, especially those who have become Patreons. I'd like to thank you. And I'd like to ask you to hop over to davidlgray.info, become a sponsor there if you like. Join my mailing list if you like. And visit the Gray Report while you're there for the latest news from a rigid Catholic lean. You know, the Freemasons do not have a database that tells us which religion their members belong to. That there's no such thing. But some scholars on the subject have said that it's probably around 20% of Freemasons who are also professed Catholics. That's been a speculation. I can't really disagree with that. I would tend more to agree with that, but I would like to nuance it in a few ways. And first, and say that that of there 6 million Freemasons in the world, and 20% are Catholics. That brings the number to about 1.2 million Catholics. That's a grave scandal beyond proportion, right? A grave scandal. But the nuance is worse when we consider that in places like the Scandinavian countries, the number is far higher than 20%. It'd be closer to maybe 50%, as well in places like in South America, as well as Italy and France. And I talk about the reasons why that's the case in my book, The Catholic Catechism on Freemasonry. Get it for more information. I would also add that the percentage would be significantly lower than 20% in countries where there's just far fewer Catholics, and in places where Freemasonry is suppressed, such as in Islamic countries and communist countries. In the United States, I would speculate that about 10 to 20% of the 2 million Freemasons here are baptized Catholics, but in the smaller Anglo Freemasonry, such as Prince Hall Freemasonry, the predominantly black sets, I speculate that out of their estimated 300,000 members, the percentage of Catholics are probably in single digits, somewhere between 5 and 9%, just because it's a smaller pool to pull from. Only about 6% of Black Americans are Catholic. And out of that 3 million Black Catholics, only 750,000 of them belong to what I call culturally Black churches. These are your predominantly Black churches. They're primarily in cities where there's a larger number of Black people, right? So it's a smaller pool to pull from, and of people who would even gravitate to something like Prince Hall Freemasonry. So, but again, it has to be nuanced that in cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Kansas City, St. Louis, New Orleans, the number is probably much higher of Freemasons who are Catholic in the Anglo sets of Prince Hall Freemasonry, probably 30%, right? Which again, grave scandal, yet does not even include their wives and daughters who have joined the Masonic rites for females, such as the Eastern Star. Given that Black Americans who already belong to fraternal organizations, and those more likely would be those who are more likely to join other fraternal organizations. That is, there's a lot of cross-pollination. Black Americans who may belong to a Greek-led organization may also be predisposed to have the type of mindset to also join the Knights of Peter Claver. And it also is with those who are already Freemasons or Eastern Stars, also have that type of fraternal mindset that would make the Knights of Peter Claver something that would appeal to them. So there's some overlap, so we can increase that percentage and say that it's probably around 15% of the 17,000 knights and ladies of Peter Claver have some sort of Masonic affiliation, which would bring the number to about 2,550 of their members are excommunicated from the church for belonging to the Masonic orders and Freemasonry. That's been the church teaching since 1738. Historically, the predominantly black churches have always been infested with Freemasons simply because of a very close relationship that the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge, named after the so-called founder of Freemasonry among blacks, Prince Hall, black abolitionist and educator in the Boston area, the close relationship that the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge has always had with the black community and the Black Protestant Church. And again, I wrote more about this in my book, The Catholic Catechism on Freemasonry. I also wrote an article over at 1 Peter 5 that I'll link below that'll give you more insights into the subject. But in short, in the early 1900s, Rome was very interested in evangelizing Black Americans. Even right after slavery, they were very interested, but they became very frustrated with the American bishops not being interested in doing so. But under pressure from Rome, the United States bishops did form a committee. All right, let's look at this, they said. So they started an agency called the Catholic Board of Negro Missions. They put a New York priest in as his first director, a priest by the name of Father John E. Burke. And in 1912, Burke issued a very interesting report outlining some of the reasons. I think there are 4 reasons altogether. Why? What's the difficulty in evangelizing blacks and bringing them into the church? And of those 4 reasons, Burke found that one of those reasons was that too many black Americans belong to these secret societies that are incompatible with Catholicism. And when Burke is talking about secret societies, he's primarily referring to Prince Hall Freemasonry, but included in that would have been orders like the Elks, the Knights of Pythias, and organizations like that. But Burke, unfortunately, is also responsible for promoting the lie that black secret societies do not present the same threat to the Catholic Church as white societies did or do. Many Catholics down through the centuries, such as Monsignor George Dillon in his book Grand Orient of Freemasonry, which today a lot of Catholics I know are recommending this book, which is I consider trash because it has a lot of problems. But he promotes this idea in his book. Oh, there's some Freemasonry is different than others. Some are more dangerous than others. No, right? And all the way down to today, I don't need to name names. But these Catholics who evangelize this fake news that was given to us from the Freemasons, that some sets of Freemasonry are not as harmful as others. It's really those French and Italian Freemasons, those Grand Orient Freemasons. Those are the dangerous ones. Those are the ones that are bad. Freemasonry among blacks, that's not even real Freemasonry. I have books recently written by Catholics this millennium and in the 90s saying that these types of lies, oddly enough, has been with the Catholic Church from the very beginning. There's a cardinal named Neri who's a nephew of Pope Clement XII, who issued the first papal bull against Freemasonry in 1738 called In Enmity, that is high warning or high watch. When he's about to promulgate that papal bull, Neri comes to him, his nephew, Cardinal Neri, and says, and quote unquote, he says, well, Freemasonry in England was, quote, just an innocent amusement, unquote, an innocent amusement, trying to convince the Pope that Freemasonry, Anglo-Freemasonry is different than what's going on in Italy and France with those Freemasons. English or Anglo Freemasonry, as it's called, has always tried to spread that lie that they're the innocent ones. We're just a fraternal organization. We just do some charity work. We're not like those French ones, And I compare this really to the Roman soldiers spreading that lie that, oh, Jesus, they stole his body. And to this day, the story still spreads, right? Same with the Anglo Freemasons, who tell everyone that they aren't like the French and Italian Freemasons, and far too many Catholics have spread this lie, and they continue to do so today. Albeit, I'll grant them, probably unwittingly, they're uninitiated. They've never been Freemasons. They don't know, right? They just read a book, maybe talked to a Freemason, and they spread these lies from them. And I don't expect the uninitiated Catholics to always get it right, but they should know when they're being duped. And if you don't know, I'm here to tell you. And look, I digress for 1 minute. Let's say this. There are 3 things Catholics who want to talk about the subject of Freemasonry need to stop doing, so not as to mislead other Catholics and put their soul in danger. Number 1, please, for the love of God, stop saying the word free Masonic. It's not even a real word. It's embarrassing, especially when you say it around Freemasons. It's a word that's not even in their dictionary. They're confused about why you made up that word. There's Freemasonry, which the popes have spoke of. There's the Masonic orders. And you can't put those 2 words together and make up a new word. That's not even how words work most of the time. Stop. It's not even a real word. I mean, it's not, sometimes you could do that with clothes, right? Maybe you could put 2 things together that don't really supposed to go together and maybe create a new style, right? But if Freemasonic was like clothes, it wouldn't even be kosher. They're 2 things that are somewhat related, but so different you can't bring them together. All right, just say Freemasonry, what the popes have spoken about, or secret societies. Those are the options. Number 2, please stop saying that the Carbonari were Freemasons and that the Alta Vendetta was a Masonic document. Neither of those things are true. Again, Monsignor George Dillon said it in his book, which is, again, one of those things that makes the book horrible. A recent person, don't need to name names, wrote a book, really popular, which the whole entire thesis of his book about some sort of infiltration was, the thesis of the book was that the Carbonari were Freemasons and that the Alta Vendetta was a Masonic document. Not true. Pius IX said the Carbonari were more dangerous than the Freemasons, and he gave the Carbonari their own prohibition. If they were Freemasons, he would have said the prohibition applies to them. But no, he makes a distinction in 2 different ways. Yes, some members of the Carbonari were Freemasons, but not all of them. And therefore, the Alta Vendetta is not a Masonic document. The Masonic program that Leo XIII talked about was completely different than the program of the Carbonari. One is external, one is internal, right? The successors of the Carbonari were closer to the communists than the Freemasons. The Freemasons have an external attack that tries to promote separation of church and state so that the state can be used to attack the church. That's the Masonic program. It's an external attack. The Carbonari were talking about it internal. The Carbonari thought the Freemasons were soft. So again, I'm getting too far off, but just stop. All right. It's harmful and it's embarrassing. Number 3, most importantly, stop downplaying the different sets of Freemasonry, whether it's Anglo-Continental, the women of Freemasons, the co-gender Freemasons. And you don't even know what the distinctions are. I get it. You've never been a Freemason, and you're not supposed to know the inside baseball, and it doesn't even matter according to what the church is teaching about the subject, Because as far as the popes are concerned, all Freemasonry was prohibited. It's all the same. They all have the same degrees. Again, inside baseball, some little differences with the first 3 degrees, some little differences with Masonic orders or when, where, and how. It doesn't even matter. It's all prohibited. Just stop being fancy with it and just stick with the church teaches. And I get it. Sexiness sells. Sexiness sells. I get it. But you're being harmful. And Burke spreading that lie amongst Black Catholics that they can be Freemasons because their Freemasonry isn't really dangerous, along with Catholic bishops not ever holding Black Catholics accountable or holding them to the same standard as the white construct Catholics. There's a whole Catholic critical race theory. It's been around for a long time, right? Black Catholics are never held to the same standard in, the culturally Black Catholic churches, the predominantly Black Catholic churches. They can have their own liturgy. They can do whatever they want to do. And no bishop ever says anything to them because that would be racist. And you have even predominantly, you have the culturally Black Catholics, who also believe in the Catholic critical race theory, who want people like Venerable Pio Toussaint and Augustus Tolton and Henrietta de Lau and Mother Mary Lang and Julia Greeley, want them just be canonized right now because, it's too hard for Blacks to be canonized. It's amazing, right? But all this is also, I think, just an intentional ignorance on a subject itself, right? And that's across the church, just ignorance about what the church teaches about Freemasonry. And also culturally Black Catholics, just their tendency to put culture before faith. All these 4 reasons are part of the reason why when the Knights of Peter Claver, when they meet in July this year, it's been reported to me by Freemasons that it's going to be a who's who amongst Freemasonry at this meeting. It's going to be people, including people like a former Supreme Knight of the Knights of Peter Claver, who's a Freemason, Chester J. Jones. Has been reported to me by a couple Freemasons. Have no reason to doubt that they're lying in this instance. This information was volunteered by one Freemason to me, and then I confirmed it with another from the Louisiana area. Have no reason to doubt this is the case based upon what they're telling me, similar stories. James E. Callahan III, who is a district deputy of the Knights of Peter Claver, who is a very accomplished Freemason, very accomplished, and he's an officer in Knights of Peter Claver. There's Oliver Mahone, who's a Freemason and running for to be their national treasurer. Again, confirmed by me from 2 sources, who one again volunteered as our information, and one I had to track down and find and confirmed. So this is just me making this up about one of their Supreme Knights and one of their officers and one person who's running. And there's so many other names that I've been given who I didn't have 2 sources to confirm, but who I think are, from what I've understand, are very credible and very credible stories about all these women and men who are Freemasons and Eastern Stars that are going to be there at this upcoming convention. And primarily most of them are from New Orleans and Chicago. But in Freemasonry in Chicago is a mecca. So that's it's a mecca of Freemasonry, Chicago. So that's where they're meeting. So this national convention is going to be really just a one-stop shop to find some of the most notable Freemason Eastern Stars that are in the Catholic Church from DC and Chicago and from the New Orleans area. And it's disgusting. It's a scandal. And it's even been reported to me that some past Grand Masters or Grand Lodges of Freemasons are going to be in attendance. Backstory about the Knights of Peter Claver, though. They were founded in 1909 by the predominantly black religious order called the Josephites. They were from a church in Mobile, Alabama. It's called the most pure heart of Mary. But today they're the largest and oldest black Catholic lay-led organization still in existence. Now, you have to think about them also in context of the Knights of Columbus as well, right? Why didn't they just join the Knights of Columbus? Well, the Knights of Columbus didn't even initiate their first black member until 2 decades after they were founded. And then, which is 2 decades before the Knights of Peter Claver began, their work before they were founded. And on a national level, yeah, we say the Knights of Columbus largely has been, they've pushed back against the race construct barriers, right? But on a national level, but on a local level, a lot of black Catholics felt discrimination, right? On a local level, on a local parish level, they refused membership. So the Josephites responded to the need and desire of black Catholics at a time and a half of fraternity by creating this order. But also in historical context, the Knights of Peter Claver was born around the same time as many organizations at this time in the early 1900s that were started just to imitate what white folk were doing, right? There's used to be this insatiable need amongst black Americans to imitate whites. Whatever whites were doing, that was success. Whether it was conking your hair, making it straight, or preferring light skin over dark skin. Coming out of slavery, black Americans, new black Americans, they had to find how to be in this country. And for whatever reason, how to be, the answer to that was, well, we should be like whites. Whatever they're doing, we should do. And so a lot of organizations were started upon this need to garner white approval. And it's, a little bit disgusting, right? But it's historical. Okay, you can understand it in context, this insatiable need to imitate whites. So the Knights of Peter Claver, like the Knights of Columbus in a lot of ways, they have 4 degrees. They also need parts in some unique ways that are also cultural, right? They have a ladies' auxiliary, right? Kind of like the Freemasons. Also, culturally, the Knights of Peter Claver are like, most black Americans, right? They're very woke, very liberal, very left. Right, worship the political party called the Democrats. Right, that's their religion. Right. So on their website, for example, they celebrated Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is anti-human on every level, but they celebrate her because she's not even. I'm not even going to get into that, but she had the skin color, right? But everyone knows Ketanji Brown Jackson identifies more closely to so-called white feminist than she does her skin color, right? Not even married to a black man.
We've taken on 5 areas of social justice to broaden our scope and to broaden our service in the greater community. We've taken on racism. We've taken on human trafficking that affects our communities in disproportionate ways. We've taken on domestic violence, which equally affects our communities in different ways. We've also taken on criminal justice. And finally, the dignity of Black lives. And all of that has continued to motivate us to be even more active around not only the feeding of the homeless, which is a dignity thing, feeding people, serving people, blood drives, but it's to that greater cause.
But this is what you expect also from the membership they have. Is, these people, it's always politics and culture first. Dogma, wherever we can fit it in, which is not much. And it's also what you expect from an organization that's run by Freemasons. Its focus is on humanism, human solutions, human effort. Jesus and the whole Eucharist are just ornaments, right? Black Lives Matter. It's not salvation matters with them. Black Protestants, culturally black Catholics, really no difference here. All right. So, but despite the fact that, the Claverites and I, we would, most of the members and I, we would agree on almost nothing. All right. I thought because I'm passionate about the subject of bringing Catholics out of Freemasonry and being that I'm the foremost authority on the Catholic prohibition against Freemasonry today. And when I was a Freemason, I was one of the foremost authorities on Freemasonry, the history of it. I thought I was a perfect candidate to offer my services, to come to their convention and speak on a subject of Freemasonry. So I reached out to Supreme Knight James K. Ellis with this letter. Blessings and peace, Mr. James K. Ellis. I pray that your Lenten season has been a blessing to you thus far. I am writing to ask whether I could have the opportunity to discuss with you an opportunity to give a 1-hour workshop at the upcoming convention and conclave in Chicago on the Catholic Church's prohibition against Catholics being Freemasons, also members of independent Masonic bodies. The reason for this ask is because I have come to realize how deep a problem this is with Black Catholics, and the Innocent Peter Claver has the most penetrating voice with Black Catholics in the United States. This would be a significant opportunity to evangelize church teaching on a subject to a group of Catholics who have been the most affected by us not teaching the orthodoxy on this subject. As a former Freemason myself and as a convert to Christ and his church in 2008 and 2006, I have been, as a former Freemason myself and as a convert to Christ and his church in 2006, I have been deeply engaged in speaking and writing about this subject for over a decade. And due to recent revelations concerning how many Black Catholics have membership in the Prince Hall lodges and Eastern Star chapters, I feel called to do the work where it is most needed right now. I would love to converse with you further about this. Please advise. So my original intention of reaching out to Supreme Knight James K. Ellis was not to, I didn't plan to make this video. It wasn't about exposing them and their members and doing all this research and tracking down people to confirm what I heard. No, my intention was just to share with them the good news of being obedient to God, but they ghosted me. I also got an inbox from a Grant A. Jones, who's the executive director of the Nice Peter Claver, but nothing never came of that either. He inboxed me. I emailed him as he asked. I followed up with another inbox. Hey, did you get my email? Ghosted me. I get it. I would like to believe, okay, this is their election year. They're busy. Really don't have time for a workshop. They may think it's off topic, whatever. I get it. But at the same time, if that was the reason, ghost me, not respond at all, say nothing, more than likely, I realize what it is. I know my reputation precedes me. As you've heard, I'm very critical of culturally Black Catholics who don't put their faith first, who worship the religion of government and politics, who consider the ballot booth as their sacrament, who wink at what the church teaches about abortion being a preeminent issue. I get it. I've been critical of them for over a decade. I understand. My reputation precedes me. I know many of them, they hate me. They're on record for calling me names like Coon and Uncle Tom and sellout. They even have called me anti-Black. I get it. They have this weird caricature of me, because they look at everything through a political lens. They think that's how I view things through a political lens. I don't even vote. I don't even vote. So it doesn't, I don't think they're not who I'm not who they think I am. Right. But I'm who they understand. If you can only see the world through politics and not through faith, I get it. I get their perception of me. It sounds like I'm a this political conservative and all this stuff, right? No, I just care about the truth in Jesus Christ. And I'm a very rigid Catholic. I don't play with the dogma, right? But here we are. So I'm calling on Nice Peter Claver to purge all Freemasons and anyone associated with the Masonic Order from your ranks right now. Inquisition. Find them, purge them. Please cleanse your house of all the filth of Freemasonry. Remove from your house what the popes have called the den of Satan from your midst. And get your house in order it to God. And if you believe that the Knights of Peter Claver should be more like a good Jesuit, St. Peter Claver, and put Christ Jesus first, then like and share this video. For another video on this same topic, watch my expose on Mr. Malcolm Morris, who calls himself a Catholic Grand Master. I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I'm looking forward to your comments below. Hey, I'll be speaking at the Finding Hope in the Desert conference. Finding Hope in the Desert. It's a conference being put on by the Coalition for Canceled Priests. It's on June 24th in Beloit, Wisconsin. And I'll be speaking with Father James Altman, Michael Hitchborn, Dr. Peter Kanuski, Jesse Romero, Stella Moore, Dr. Janet Smith, Father John Lovell, and others. And, you know, oftentimes my speaking engagements are for like private meetings and like members only. So whenever I get a chance to speak at an open conference, I get excited because I get to invite all of you who follow me there. So come out, check your calendar, and see if you can gather with us to rally support for cancer priests and what the coalition is building. For more information, visit cancelpriests.org. That's cancelpriests.org. And if you'd like me to come to your conference or meeting or retreat and speak, let me up at CatholicSpeakers.com. That is CatholicSpeakers.com. I would love to come see you and gather with you and to talk about the most important things. But until then, and until next time, remember, get to Mass and confession as often as possible and live your life like salvation matters. And may the blessings of our Lord Jesus Christ and his peace be upon you and yours. Thank you.